Hey,
Hi, how are you, Leo?
you're not Vanessa, right?
No, sir.
I kind of guessed at that. The beard kind of gave you away.
As it turns out,
I apologize for being late. I was on the phone call, uh, trying to find some vehicles, and apparently we're having some problems even seeing them. So,
not a problem at all. First of all, nice to meet you. My name is John Olson.
John, okay, you're muffled for some reason. Um,
How
Try
about now?
again.
Can you hear me more clearly?
Not really. It's still very muffled. There's nothing blocking your microphone.
No. What I'm gonna do, I'm sorry, just a moment. I'm a little bit embarrassed right now. I'm gonna run out of here and set up shop outside.
Okay. Um,
That way I can take my headphones off.
okay.
All right. And I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
I use my other headphones so often.
Those look pretty fancy.
And volume up. How about now? Does that sound better?
Yeah, yeah, that's much better actually. Okay, so you mentioned you're looking to do marketing for your consulting business. Is that correct?
So I'm kind of in a phase where I'm going through a lot of different ideas. So my background, I've spent the last, um, as a young man, I was in plumbing and electrical, and then I went from that to working for Sears as an appliance technician. And then after that, I became an EMT. I thought I wanted to be a nurse. Um, I tried to join the Navy. I was going to join the Navy as a foreman, and I got into some trouble. I wound up getting a DUI when I was 22, a couple days before I was supposed to join, and so that put a stop to that. So I became an EMT and thought I would go back to school for nursing, but instantly went back for business. Um, and then I got a job working as an EMT in a Foster Farms production plant. It's a poultry plant.
Okay.
They had 1,600 people, and so they had 24/7 on site medical assistance. With that being said, while going to school for business rather, I became a supervisor there, and then have jumped around supervising other manufacturing and warehousing facilities. So I've got 10 years management experience in this industry at this point. Currently, I'm a warehouse manager for another company that manufactures and distributes air filters for HVAC systems. Um, so I've been contemplating. In my past, I have joined companies that were paying far too much for freight, and so whether it be parcel, LTL, and FTLs. In my prior company before this, um, I saved them literally tens of thousands a month because they were being grossly overcharged and receiving poor service. And so I did that by essentially creating bidding wars and being honest with sales reps and holding them accountable for the standards that I set. And also with regard to LTLs and FTLs, finding the right freight company that maximizes certain lane usages, right? So if they travel, if their volume on certain lanes is higher, then they're going to charge me less to send product that way. And so in my current position, I've been tossing around the idea of starting a consulting firm just to save people money on freight. So the idea is novel because they only pay me if I can save them money. So
Okay.
I'll do the upfront work. Basically, the only thing I need from them is their last 2 years of reporting, everything they've shipped, where from, where to, and the cost they paid, which you can get right off most portals. Um, and then from there, I go to work, analyze the data, check the routes, see who runs those routes, start making phone calls. Most of the contacts I have already, and go from there. Um, the profitability of this is, I think, worth my time, especially as starting out as a sort of side business. So if I can save a company, so then my as of now, I'm thinking my charge would be what I'd like to charge is essentially half of the annual savings. That sounds like a lot, but if the annual savings won't necessarily be astronomical. If I can save them 10 or 12 or 15,000 a year, um, I think 50% of that would be fair, especially if it's all profit for them, you know.
Hmm. And they get the continued profit for the rest of history, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, it sounds like a good system, but $6,000 as an average, um, but that's per year per client, right?
Correct. So I'd have to keep finding more clients. So where
Right.
I live in Fresno, California. We call it the Central Valley, the San Joaquin Valley. Um, we are a huge hub for distribution here in California. So we've got the 99 freeway that travels through here, and it's basically between LA, Sacramento, or well, rather, all the way from San Diego to Sacramento. It is the way to get there. Um, and so with business is cheap here, real estate is cheap here. So it's a really local hotspot for distribution, manufacturing, warehousing, all of the like. So there's a lot of business here. Um, it's an idea.
Okay. Have you done the math? Do you have a business blueprint? Have you put pen to
Not
paper?
not yet. Just this is all sort of coincidental. Literally, I came up with the idea, or it came upon me a couple weeks ago. I have reached out to my first prospective client. Um, Honestly, not quite as prepared as I should have been. So the facility I currently work out of is a large warehouse in which they actually rent out. It's the first facility I've ever worked in of this nature. They actually rent out warehouse space. So the company I work for just opened this distribution center here in California a few months ago. So my partner and I set it up from scratch. And so there's other companies that share the warehouse space, right? Um, we all rent our own individual warehousing space and have access to our own dock doors and things of that nature. And
Right.
so there's another company here, Multitasky. They're like a 3PL, if you're familiar with third party logistics. So it's like for online sales companies who don't actually manage their own inventory. So like
Okay.
someone has an online store, they pay these folks to manage their inventory, receive it,
All right.
manage their orders, ship it
Ju-
out, all of that.
Just like fulfilled by Amazon.
Sure, exactly
Okay.
like.
Okay.
Um, so I had met her, and we got to talking, and she expressed that she had a lot of questions about our freight and how we managed it, and pricing and of the like. And come to find out, she didn't really know what she was doing with regard to that, like how to go about negotiating for cheaper pricing and things of that nature. So recently, I reached out to her. We had a meeting, and she was a little tight-handed. She wouldn't give me the reporting, like basically, essentially, what I need just to start the process. She got hung up on the pricing, um, and I kind of um, I should have offered my services pro bono. I think in retrospect, um, I think she got hung up on that and started backpedaling a little bit.
Yeah.
It was
I,
a good learning experience for me.
yeah, offering it pro bono probably for the first 10 clients is probably a good strategy. Then using those 10 clients and get referrals or testimonials from those 10 clients to get the next 100 probably makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. In hindsight, that was one of the big ones I walked away with, especially starting out, not
But
having
there,
a track record.
right, but there's nothing stopping you from going back and say, "Hey, I've been thinking about our conversation. What if
Right,
I offer you my services for free in exchange for a testimonial?" Right?
right. So I actually wound up going there, backpedaling to that extent on the current meeting, and so she essentially wouldn't give me the reporting, but offered me a roundabout, an alternative way to like earn her trust. Essentially, she said, "Well, I don't know if you can save me money on my freight. I've already kind of jumped around with a couple sales reps, and I tried to explain, well, you know, there's a process, there's a lingo, there's essentially a bidding war that needs to be started, right? And you have to understand how these guys operate. And, there's an art, not necessarily an art form, but there's tactics to this, right? And they're not gonna give you the best possible rate the first time you meet them, right? And so if you don't know how to leverage your volume properly, because they have good volume, they're hitting 3-4 thousand parcels a month. That's pretty decent volume for a partial shipment. Um, and then in their busy season, she says they get up to like 10,000 a month for about a whole quarter.
Mhm.
So they've got leveraging power. But anyway, so her essentially her offer was that if I can find out how much my current company, our volume is much higher than hers, how much we are paying um, per parcel or per pound, and if it's cheaper than what she's paying, then she's interested in allowing us to move forward because then that's proof to her that it's possible to get a cheaper rate than what she's currently
Okay.
paying. It's not exactly fail proof, but so I'm currently going about trying to find out the rates for my company without asking my company.
All right.
Um,
The other thing you might want to consider, I mean, we use this quite a bit in the construction industry, is create buying groups. So even though she's shipping, a number of pieces per month, putting 10 companies like her together and negotiating at a rate for the 10 companies, now the volume is a benefit for all 10 companies. Does that make
yes,
sense?
yes. There are other companies in the industry that have that essential setup. So, like, if I'm already working with FedEx and I'm getting, like at my last company, I got them up to a 92% discount rate, which is sort of amazing. Um, so this other company had reached out to me stating that they can get me continue my work with FedEx and they can actually get me a cheaper rate due to that same larger group leveraging essentially. Um,
Okay.
but just because it's being done doesn't mean I can't do it as well.
Right.
That's a great idea. Um, it would be, especially starting out, right? Like if I'm offering my services pro bono, so there's no exact time frame on it, loose. Um, I could allow myself to meet with multiple companies and get their reporting and leverage all of that up front as my very first deal, even.
Yes, but also keep in mind what your future is going to look like, right? you're going to be dealing with a massive education problem. Um, to create this system, to create a buying group, to educate these people, to win them over as clients. And, if you were to bring her over as a client, is that the $6,000? It's not a year, it's a one-time fee, right?
Correct. It's a one-time consulting fee. So the price or the charge rather, right, would be based on last year's volume.
Right. So $6,000 is peanuts in comparison to the massive amount of work you're going to have to do to create trust with these companies. You
Right.
need you need some sort of residual income,
Right.
because a one-time fee, you're going to lose your shirt. This is a non-starter, okay? And what you might want to do is, I mean, you can create a collective fee to be part of the buying group, but I can't see that being a substantial fee either, right?
No,
And how many companies are there in your area that you could possibly land as clients?
thousands. But
Thousands?
the
Okay.
volume of potential clientele is massive. I mean, it's
Okay.
enormous.
So
However, I've considered what you're saying. Um, so these contracts have to be renewed annually. So
annually, okay.
every year, these freight companies are going to come back with a new contract. The rates typically stay the same. They might go up a little bit depending on the sales rep or what management is wanting. They might try to go up more. The fuel surcharges are going to vary, right?
Right.
Just based on the
But I'm more concerned about your services,
right,
um, and how you can help your clients, because I'm not liking this one-time fee. It
right,
doesn't work from a business perspective. Your
right.
costs, your costs of client acquisition, is going to be higher than $6,000.
Yeah, it's going to take too much of my time.
Too much of your time is going to take too much of your time to educate them. It's going to take too much time to reach them. Um, it doesn't sound like a viable option from what I'm seeing right now. And even creating a buying group, I can't see, them paying more than, let's say, $1,000 a year, or $3,000 a year to belong to the buying group. And if you get 10 people or even 100 people to join the buying group, now you need staff to manage the buying group, right? So, I mean, what I'm thinking is the reason why I focus in the construction industry, because the construction industry has been the most profitable industry consistently since 1920, right? So everything ends up being compared to the construction industry. For an example, I had a conversation this morning, a follow-up conversation to a guy in the construction industry who wants to buy a coffee shop, right? So we're looking at options there. And the scenario that my team and I came up with was to buy the coffee shop, create a real differentiation, and then franchise it to $100 million business, right? Anything short of that, anything short of 20 million doesn't make sense to get out of the construction industry. And the only reason why he's considering this is because his business is not well designed. He doesn't understand how to run a business, and he runs his business by working with these, right? So he,
Right.
he doesn't understand business tools and leverage tools and, business blueprint and aggressive marketing systems and, culture and everything else. So once he understands that, so I'm using the coffee shop as an example to compare it, but I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, he's going to come back and focus and refocus on the construction industry. So keeping that in mind, uh, I mean, if you were to, as an example, take $50,000 or even $5,000 and you start, let's say, a painting company with real differentiation, aggressive marketing, and well-trained employees, and grow that company to 2 million or 3 million over the next 18 to 24 months. The results of that compared to what you're trying to do, to me, is night and day different.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So you've always have to have a comparable, or else you're going to keep going down a path that makes no sense.
okay. Um, so I have a business idea. I actually put this together 10 years ago when I was in school, and I tabled it. Um, I wasn't ready in life to take on anything like that. I thought I was, but anyway, um, what I've been really kicking around, and I actually just bought a van to kind of get going, is an HVAC vent and dryer vent cleaning business.
Okay.
So here in the Central Valley, we have the worst air quality in the United States. We are surrounded by mountains on all four sides. It creates an ecodome. The pressure and temperature differences do not allow the smog in the air to escape. Um, with that being said, we have a lot of manufacturing and farming in the area. So this gets all compiled and it's trapped. And it's statistically true that we have the worst air quality in the nation, which compiled with some of the worst allergy epidemic here in the nation, which
Okay.
obviously leads to other health effects. Something people don't know is because of this, when they go into their homes, the air quality is actually 4 to 5 times worse than it is outside, right?
Exactly.
All
Yeah.
of these things get pulled into their ducting system. And if they aren't being cleaned properly or at all, then it's actually compiling. So with allergies being and asthma being such an epidemic here, people have no idea that as they're inside with their windows closed, because right now it's like 105 degrees here.
Right.
Like we'll have months, like a couple months where we're above 100 consistently. So no one is opening their windows, right? And then in the winter it gets cold, so no one opens their windows. The place never gets aired out. So people have no idea. Like allergies are developed by overexposure to allergens, any foreign body that they're exposed to the most.
Right.
So by
So
going,
dealing, so I understand where you're going to. When I started my first construction business at 17 and developed 22 different franchises, indoor air quality and asbestos and mold removal was part of that scenario. So I understand about indoor air quality testing. So I like that. I like this option more so than the other option.
right,
But there's still that educational process, right? You still have to educate people on the fact that there's a better option in terms of indoor air quality, right? The educational component is going to be huge again. And hopefully you have a lot of competition who are educating people. If you are the only one doing the educational process, you're going to go bankrupt before you make a dime. Okay. But I like this idea. We just have to figure out a way of reducing the client acquisition costs and create a system where you're going in weekly or monthly to change filters for businesses or homes or higher end services, and tie in with other companies who are going in weekly, like lawn maintenance companies, for client acquisition purposes, right? Because you need to build on other people trusted relationships, because sending people emails as a cold call is going to cost you a fortune. Does that make
okay,
sense?
yes.
Okay. So how often, in terms of getting good indoor air quality, how often would you have to change these filters?
The filters themselves typically is once a quarter.
Once a quarter. Okay. Are these reusable filters or replacement
No
filters?
replacements.
Okay. And you have independent studies to show indoor air quality is this. Now it's better because of this. Do we have
Oh,
independent
so
studies?
Yes,
Okay.
the statistics are out there. They're easy to get to find.
Okay.
I've done extensive research on it in the past. I have to revisit it. So, um, a little history on of about me. I I went through, like everybody, some rough patches in life, and I started drinking very heavily, and I wasted a good portion of time doing that. The last like 6 or 7 years of my life, alcoholism has really taken over. I've still been high functioning, if you will, right? Really, I mean, that's just a term to represent that I've been able to fucking go to work and hold down a job. But outside of that, I lost most ambition for life. I still was able to find a woman that was willing to marry me and um, start a family. Um, but I got sober almost a year ago,
Okay.
331 days ago, in fact. 2 weeks before my,
Congratulations.
thank you.
That's a major
2 weeks,
accomplishment.
yeah, 2 weeks before my son was born. Um, I I go to AA treatment. Well, fellowships. I have a sponsor. I really, and it's crazy. Before I found AA, like I thought they were a bunch of kooks, but it's actually a very intellectual program: mind, body, spirit, soul. Um, it's a whole essence program. But with that being said, so I'm not like suddenly I have this newfound ambition for my life, and my drive is back, and so I'm kind of going rampant with all these ideas, right? Just trying to figure out a way to facilitate a better life for myself and my family. So a lot of this, I mean, I'm just trying to surround myself like you actually suggested in your message to me with like-minded people, and so I'm reading. I'm trying to get just in the business mindset again, because it's been tabled. I was a robot there for the last several years, just going through the motions in life.
Okay.
So a lot of these ideas aren't totally conceived yet. Um, my my notion for the vent cleaning business was, and this is I know is like an issue, um, is like that I think small, right? So I still have my job right now. I'm salary based, and I only work 4 days a week,
Okay.
which is pretty fantastic for my industry.
Let me interject there. We've helped people with jobs start businesses, and I think
Right.
that's one of the best scenarios because you have a way to pay your costs. We have we started a business for a project manager in the roofing business, and he only jumped over full time when he doubled his salary. He runs a $27 million roofing company right now. Another one runs a $65 million company. Again, he only jumped over when we doubled his salary. Okay. So the main thing about the duct cleaning is we need to find a way of creating differentiation, branding, and some unique aspects. I mean, there's no intellectual property, there's no patents, there's really nothing. But if we can create it for, a coffee shop, and we started our meeting this morning at 4 a.m. because we have a lot of overseas employees. Um, if we can create a differentiation for a coffee shop, I'm sure we can do it for indoor air quality as well. And the other thing that I should mention is that we have over 10,000 domains that we age. Like fine wine, you need to age websites. So when you're building credibility over the last 10 or 12 years, then when you start really launching that website, you get credibility and SEO, search engine optimization. You get ranking a lot faster because it's a 10 or 12-year-old website. Okay. So we have that. We call those businesses in the box. Um, it's like harvesting a forest. You can't harvest a forest and plant trees at the same time. It doesn't work. You got to plant trees 50 years later, you can harvest the forest. But if you had the mindset to plant trees 50 years ago, now you can start harvesting the forest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Same thing with aging websites. So branding and differentiation has to be part of it. Um, and have you looked at, the average cost or what you're going to charge clients for this service? And what
Yes.
exactly is the service? So fill me
So
in there.
some of the businesses in the area charge between 250 to 350 for a base service. Um, Essentially, like one company will charge you $300 to clean up to 6 vents, and then $50 for each vent thereafter. A vent being defined as any straight vent until it turns. I don't know that I appreciate um,
It sounds
that
scammy.
model.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I prefer to say per square footage or something of the
Yeah, the
nature.
average company with 5,000 square foot office space or 3,000 square foot office space is this much.
Right. Yeah, something of that nature sounds more professional and legitimate.
Yeah.
Um, However,
And the office admin person can figure it out. We have
yeah,
2,500 square feet office space. How much is it going to cost me?
right.
So these are one-time cleanings, or I would prefer to see, an annual or contract where you go in every month or every 2 weeks, um, and they're paying monthly for it.
So there's the
Sorry, they're
recommended.
paying yearly for it.
So the recommended cleaning cycle is every 2 years. Um, to actually just need to go in and actually take the covers off, get the hoses in there, vacuum out all of the dust and gunk. I mean, dust mites and mildew, to actually remove the debris. I was considering a couple like upsell options. So I could come in quarterly to swap out all their filters, right? I would manage getting the filters depending on their standards. They want a MERV 7, a MERV 11, a MERV 9, an odor efficient filter. Whatever type of filters they want, I can get them. And then there might be a slight up, I have to figure out the percentage of upcharge, right? And then the servicing fee. That stuff I haven't really thought about yet. Like granted, the business plan is 10 years old, so all of it needs to be updated. All the work has to
Um,
be done.
I don't like it. If I may jump in, John. I do a lot of interrupting when I get excited with new ideas.
Sure.
So I think you need to find a way of going in every 2 weeks or something, because the client needs to understand our or their hiring practices or their company culture says, hey, we 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 respect our employees. We care about the air they're breathing. We care about the company culture. We care about the environment we create for our employees. We change, we have a company coming in every 2 weeks to change air filters. We test air quality, every quarter or every month, whatever it is. Because when you're changing the filter, um, and place new filters in, and whether you can vacuum the filters and reuse them or not, I don't know what it is, but there's got to be a system that we use in order to create a better indoor air quality. Okay. Having that gunk, I mean, here's an example in terms of water filter. Water filtration was one of the franchises, and one of my clients also produces water filtration systems, which means they have tanks. There's 5 tanks, 5 filters that are 4 feet high, right? So, and those have to be backwashed or cleaned, preferably on a weekly or at least monthly basis to get good water quality. Okay. So compare that with your fridge water filter, and they replace that every, couple of years. And that filter is tiny compared to, a 45-gallon type drum system,
Right.
right? So when you compare the two, I mean, there's no comparable. right? And when you test the two waters, I mean, the fridge water is atrocious. It's horrible, right? So we got to have higher systems of testing. We can't have average testing. We got to show these people. We have an independent lab that we use for indoor air quality, and in order to get good air, better than what's outside, we have to change the filter every 2 weeks, and we test the indoor air quality every month or so. And people are going to be willing to pay for a much higher system that is provable. To me, that is a system to do the same thing what your competition is doing. To me, that's not a company. That's not a service that I would pay for. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to have a 10 times better system than your current competition. And we need to design that. And we need to create credibility that the client trusts.
So I was in my business model. I was more going to be focused on residential and moving into industrial.
There's more money in commercial.
Right. However, um,
There's nothing stopping you from doing both, but I
right.
would rather see 80% commercial and 20% residential. The reason why you want the residential is for cash flow reasons. Maybe you start off with 50-50 because, residential is going to pay a lot quicker than commercial. But eventually, I would like to see 80-20.
Okay. That makes sense.
There's more money in commercial.
Okay. Because I was, and again, it's me thinking small, right?
Yeah, don't think
Um,
small. This has to be a $5 million company within, 12 to 24 months, 36 months at the outside, because your competition is going to copy you. You're going to create a whole new level of efficiency and trust that they can't compete with, and they're going to copy you, and they're going to outmarket you.
I see.
So you got to launch very quickly. We did something similar for an automotive aftermarket parts company, and we knew China was going to copy it, and we had to do $100 million the first 12 months, or else we're not going to have a business. Okay. So I need to jump on another call, but give
Okay.
that some thought. I like this idea. But I would also compare it with, a simple business like, a painting business that you can franchise. A painting, you don't have to create the need. There's no educational process for painting or flooring or something else. But painting is a very simple business. And like I said, I've got clients who do $5 million and they travel to 38 countries a year on holidays,
Okay.
surfing and playing beach volleyball while the business works for them. They can manage their business remotely from the Philippines or Brazil or wherever they are. Okay. They do $5 million
So painting, house painting of the like,
in interior painting. Yes.
interior, exterior.
Well, exterior is dependent on weather. I don't like to do exterior. I don't even like roofing companies. And yet we focus on roofing companies because the weather affects your business. Interior, nothing affects your business. Only other contractors affect your business, right?
Okay.
So I want to create a system that is kind of idiot proof and is not affected by your competition or clients or anything else.
Okay.
All right. So I really need to jump on this other call, but
Okay.
schedule another call for tomorrow. Let's continue this conversation.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.